Now, this trend is clearly visible in the Sahel region, where Chinese weapons and artillery have been making their way. In the latest, Burkina Faso's armed forces have received a fresh consignment of Chinese-manufactured armored vehicles and artillery pieces.
Something unbelievable just rolled into West Africa. In the heart of Burkina Faso, a massive convoy of Chinese war machines has appeared. Armored vehicles, rocket launchers, and heavy artillery, unlike anything the region has seen before. Was this a simple weapons deal or the beginning of a new global power shift? What's hidden behind the roar of these engines could change not only Burkina Faso's war, but the future of Africa itself. Stay tuned. The truth is far bigger than you think. In August 2025, the atmosphere in Ouagadougou shifted dramatically. The usual rhythm of the city fell silent as an unfamiliar sound echoed through the streets. Shopkeepers paused, children climbed onto walls, and soldiers stood at attention. It was not the rattle of worn-out trucks, but the steady advance of modern convoys. Desert-colored vehicles pressed against the pavement, armored carriers, rocket launchers, and heavy cannons. These were not relics of the past, but powerful machines signaling a new era for Burkina Faso. And here's the shocking part. They weren't from France. They weren't from the United States. They weren't from any of Burkina Faso's old partners. They had come from China. For years, Burkina Faso's army had been seen as weak, always fighting from behind, always outgunned. But the moment those Chinese convoys arrived, something shifted. This wasn't just a delivery of weapons. It was a message. The country had decided to break free from Western promises and look east instead. And the battlefield of the Sahel would never be the same. The images spread quickly online. Soldiers posed proudly in front of hulking VN-22B armored vehicles, machines designed to take direct hits and keep rolling. Nearby, engineers prepared gun mortars, PLL-0s, capable of raining shells onto enemy hideouts from far away and then switching in an instant to direct fire if militants dared to get close. And then there were the SR-5 rocket systems. Their modular launchers stood tall, ready to fire missiles that could travel 70 kilometers and strike with terrifying accuracy. It wasn't a rumor, it wasn't some fake propaganda. Verified footage confirmed it. One of Africa's poorest nations had just rearmed with weapons that rivaled anything outside NATO or Russia. Only a few months earlier, Burkina soldiers were riding in battered pickups, exposed and under-equipped. Now they stood beside some of the most advanced battlefield technology in the world. Why show all this so openly? Why parade it through the streets instead of hiding it in secret bases? Because this wasn't only about war, it was about pride, about confidence, about telling the world that Burkina Faso was no longer fighting with scraps. It was stepping into a new era, and it wanted everyone to see it. But the real question was this: would these weapons truly change the war, or just change the story being told? For years, insurgents in Burkina Faso had hunted the army on the open roads. They rode fast motorbikes, ambushing convoys that had little to defend themselves. Old trucks couldn't resist an RPG. Soldiers were sitting ducks. But now, with the VN-22B vehicles, equipped with powerful autocannons and thick armor, those convoys could push forward like armored fists. Instead of prey, they could become predators. Instead of fleeing ambushes, they could crush them. Out in the countryside, militants built hideouts in mud compounds, forests, and caves. Traditional mortars were clumsy and hard to move. Crews had to expose themselves just to fire. But the PLL-05 gun mortars changed everything. Soldiers could fire from a distance and then instantly switch to direct fire if attackers came too close. For the first time in years, commanders could dictate the pace of battle instead of always reacting. And the rockets? Oh, the rockets. The SR-5 system stretched the battlefield beyond imagination. Militants once thought they were safe hiding deep in the bush, far from army patrols. But with rockets able to hit targets 70 kilometers away, nowhere was safe anymore. Training camps, supply depots, even remote hideouts suddenly became vulnerable. But why did this matter so much to ordinary Burkina people? To understand, you have to step back. Since 2015, insurgencies have torn the country apart. Villages burned, schools closed, markets destroyed. 2 million people were forced from their homes. The army, stretched thin and poorly armed, kept losing ground. Militants struck at will. People lost hope, not just in the military, but in the state itself. Soldiers, too, felt abandoned. They were asked to fight impossible battles with broken tools. This is why the Chinese delivery mattered. It wasn't just firepower, it was hope. It was proof to every soldier that their government hadn't given up on them. It was proof to every villager that the state still had a chance to fight back. Sometimes, in wars like this, belief is as powerful as bullets. What about America? The US had drones, intelligence, and bases in the region, but it never gave Burkina Faso what it truly wanted: weapons, fast, and in large numbers. Instead, Washington added conditions: talk of democracy, governance, reforms. For leaders in Ouagadougou facing daily massacres, it all felt distant, even insulting. So China stepped in. No conditions, no lectures. Just steel, firepower, and loans. But here's another twist. How could one of the poorest nations on earth afford this arsenal? The answer lies in gold. Burkina Faso is one of Africa's top producers. Beijing doesn't always ask for cash. Instead, it offers loans or resource-backed deals. In this case, many believe Burkina Faso promised future gold exports as payment. For China, it's smart business. For Burkina Faso, it's survival. Pay later, fight now. And perhaps the biggest question of all, can weapons really solve the roots of this war? For now, though, the government's answer is clear. Survival comes first, weapons come first, and symbols matter. Every rocket system says, "We are still here. We are still fighting." The weapons are more than firepower. They are a declaration of sovereignty. A message to Africa: you do not need the West to survive. A message to the West: your time of control is ending. And a message to the insurgents: nowhere is safe anymore. But here's the haunting final question. Is Burkina Faso writing a story of independence, or simply trading one master for another? Only time will tell.